Hello and welcome. Today I'll be trying African thread. I've never tried African thread with yarn before, so this is my first time and this is how it went. I first began by sectioning my hair from the front to the back and also from ear to ear. That makes 4 sections altogether. So I'll be working from one section and then move to the next one. The first section has 3 parts, so I make 3 parts going towards the middle for this section. So that's the first one. I then move on to make another one, making 3 parts altogether. Then I go on to tie the first 2 away so I can work on one without having any hair from the other ones try to get in there. Once that's done, I go ahead and make 3 parts on this section. Then I go ahead and grab my yarn and begin wrapping it around my hand. You can also use a chair, or I don't know, from the window to the next window, from the next door to the next door, and just wrap around. After cutting it, I grabbed 6 strings. I used a total of 4 packs and I made some of the strings longer than the others, but that doesn't matter. I then crossed the 3 strings with the other 3 strings like you would when doing box braids. That part I later found out to be unnecessary for me, but I was a beginner, so at first I was doing everything I saw from other YouTube videos. So as we go, you'll be seeing a few changes as I adjust to what worked for me. So you basically just grab your hair and start wrapping around with one part of the string while the other one is being wrapped over. Now you still want your hair to be thick all the way, so if your hair is as short as mine, when you reach the part where your hair ends, grab a few more of those strings from the wrapping end and put it towards the other part where you're wrapping over to make it a little bit thicker. If it's not thick enough, go ahead and fold that part and then continue wrapping over it. When you reach the end, tie it to secure the ends. You can also add more yarn to make your lock a lot more longer, but because I only had 4 balls of the yarn, I decided to make them shorter just so I can be able to finish my whole head, and then after I would come back and extend if I needed them longer. So I'll show you in a little bit how to extend them. So again, hold your hair and your yarn from the roots and then begin to wrap around. When you reach the end, fold the yarn and then begin to wrap around again, just to make sure that the yarn part is a lot more thicker. And then remember to secure it by tying whenever you're done. I'm going to repeat the same thing again for the next part, making 3 parts all together again and doing the same thing. Keep wrapping until I reach where my hair ends. Thereafter, I fold the yarn to make the part a lot more thicker, and then I continue to wrap. Now you may have noticed I didn't borrow any of the strings from the other side, but just continued wrapping. You can do this as well, it works just fine. When a few of the shorter strings begin to stick out like this, just align them with the rest of the yarn and wrap over them. And please remember to secure the ends by just tying. Also make sure that your lock is not too tight, because if you don't know how hard it is to grow edges, I do, trust me, I'm still trying up to now. So please, just make sure it's not too tight and just keep wrapping again. And when you reach the end of your hair, fold the yarn again and then wrap over it. The whole point of folding the yarn is to make sure that there is no difference between the thickness from where your hair ended and the rest of the lock where you don't have your hair anymore. It should be the same thickness, or almost the same. And when you reach the ends again, secure it by tying. Alright, so once we're done with those 3 parts, we're going to move on to the next one. This is the last one for this section. So for this section alone, I made 3 parts, and each of those 3 parts had its own 3 parts of the locks. Now on to the other front section, which also had 3 parts, and each of those 3 parts also had 3 locks on it. So I went on and did those locks just to finish off the 2 front sections. Now on to the back. For the 2 sections at the back, I went on and did only 2 parts for each section. I was tired. You can go ahead and do 3, but I stuck with 2. I then went on and made a part going towards the center. Then began making the locks on that one part. In total, I made 4 parts for this little part alone, and then I went on again and made 4 parts for the next one. And with this section done, I moved on to the next one. This is our last one, guys. We're almost done here. So once I was done with that, I just went on and undid this part. It was a little bit too loose. You want them loose enough to not eat your edges away, but not too loose. So now I'm just going to show you guys the takedown process. So I'm just going to cut the lock off the part with the yarn. Just make sure you don't cut off your hair, and then begin unraveling it. So I undid that, and I think it looks better now. Anyway, on to the next part. Remember when I said I wanted them longer, but I wasn't sure if I had enough yarn for that? Now I'm just going to extend it. I used about 3 strings, went where I ended wrapping, and then continued wrapping from there. And when I finished, tied it to secure it, and I had my longer locks that I could now put in a bun.